I'm trying to recap the whole night and remember the order of each room to solidify my suspicions, but the chime for the next room goes off. This time, everybody gets eerily quiet and calm, like they got all of their venom out. The host of the party announces for all of the newcomers to come to the front. All of the attendees form a single file line in front of the next room's door. There's about 10 other newcomers in front of me and David, and the agent that invited us is standing to the left of the door, and the host of the party is standing to the right. The host has a pile of books on the table next to him. I see the host ask the first person in line a question and then grab a book based on his answer. He would present the book to the person and place a diamond-shaped metal symbol on top of it before having them repeat something that he said. Then he'd take their mask off and let them enter the next room.
No, I put my foot down, no.
The price was not paid. Remove the profane.
What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. I know it's been a long time, but I'm back. I'm back, guys. I'm back. I had a lot going on. I got, demotivated, discouraged, and I was facing obstacles in my life. So anyway, with that being said, God is good, and we're here today to bring you guys another video. So let's do it. So the video that we're reacting to today is called I Wish I Never Went to That Party. A lot of you probably know about this story that's been going around on YouTube about this creator who went to a elite Hollywood party, and we know the trend as of recent is these elite Hollywood parties and what goes on behind closed doors. So let's get into the video, you feel me?
So this story is the reason I stopped making content for 5 years. You guys remember when all those Vine stars and skit Instagrammers moved to LA in like 2015-ish? So I wasn't a huge creator at the time, but I was there and around it all as all of that stuff was happening. I moved from Chicago to LA 3 weeks after high school with like $2,000 in my pocket that I saved up working at Steak and Shake with this other aspiring creator named David. I was much more into editing and being behind the camera at that time.
I'm assuming he's talking about David Dobrik.
And he was much more into Vine and vlogs and being on camera. That time of our lives was absolutely crazy. Everybody was broke, posting anything we could onto YouTube to get some attention. I happened to get a spot at the now notorious 1600 Vine Apartments.
That spot is so famous for several influencers that lived there over a period of time, like especially when they first got famous. It's crazy that spot's like known for that, you know what I'm saying?
And David got a spot a little bit closer to USC. Everyone was collaborating with everyone, and it was the era of clickbait YouTube. And to be honest, it was extremely fun for the first few months, until Hollywood started to notice that influencers were the next big thing, and that the landscape of the industry was changing. And we started to get invited to more exclusive parties and events, where it seemed as if old Hollywood was almost grooming new Hollywood. And there was rumors of this one gathering that was happening on a monthly basis, where it seemed like anybody that got invited saw a massive jump in their numbers, secured huge brand deals right after attending. But
sounds like a lot of these type of parties that we hear about, where you go to these parties, you got to compromise yourself and do certain things, to get that movie role you're trying to get that #1 album you're trying to get to, to achieve success in the industry, to climb that ladder. You got to go and compromise yourself and do these things at these parties. This is where a lot of this stuff takes place, and this is where a lot of these stars, whether they're upcoming stars or stars that are already made through Hollywood, they go there. They want to get more roles, they want to get more, more fame, more money, more opportunities. This is where you go, these parties, because that's where the top elites are. That's where the people who really have the plug, connection, and the ties in the game that could really put you in position and help your career catapult to the next level are at. You know what I'm saying? So, hey.
Apparently this gathering worked on a buddy system. Someone had to vouch for you and bring you as a guest. And by blind luck, me and David ended up getting invited. Some talent agents saw me and David shoot a silly skit at a random party. He didn't invite us that second, he just told us that he saw something special in us and took our contact information. And listen, people do that all the time in LA, but this guy had a different feel to him. He wasn't trying to convince us he had connections or hype himself up like everybody else does. He was just super calm and had a sharp way of speaking that demanded respect. He was extremely brief, and after getting our numbers, he just said, "Look out for the invite," and walked away. And this is where it gets weird. I never gave this guy my address, I only gave him my number. But I ended up getting an invitation by letter. And at the time, I thought,
yeah, that's a little strange,
that was so cool. But
I know nowadays people can literally look up your information, like your number, your name, and they can probably find your address. Not to mention there's people who, I guess you're saying high society and rich people, individuals, I should say, have that kind of technology and resources that can help them be able to find certain information on someone. So I mean, it's weird, but at the same time, it's capable of being done.
But in retrospect, as an adult looking back at it, that alone was a huge violation of privacy and a major red flag. But at the time, when I tell you I was absolutely buzzing with excitement. When I got it, the letter was so extravagant and detailed. It was gold with black and red lettering that read something like, "Your talents have been noted, your name has been endorsed, and I'll never forget this part. The dreams you have been chasing are a night away through the seventh heaven." And that.
Now they're getting spiritual. But not the right type of spiritual, the evil type of spiritual. Through the seventh heaven, your dreams are there, but you gotta go through that door. And it's not the door God would want you to go through, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Address was a beautiful home in Laurel Canyon that was set to happen that weekend. It also noted to not be a minute late and not to expect to leave before midnight. And at the time, it felt like the Willy Wonka golden ticket. And the excitement doubled when I got a text from David at the same time, in all caps saying, "Did you get one too?" I felt like our lives were about to change. And I was right. David blew up after this party, and I had to go into hiding. I felt like our lives.
So we know which way David chose and which way this guy chose, clearly. You know what I'm saying? Because if he had to go into hiding, that means he didn't accept the offer and what was told that he needed to do. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, clearly. And you know what happens when you don't comply to these people? You know what happens. You know what they might do to you. You did. So, yeah. It's better off to not even chase this career. Because look what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? You really got to compromise yourself. You really got to compromise your whole being. You got to sell your soul. You got to give up, you know, certain things that you hold dear to life. You know what I'm saying? You got to compromise your whole self, your being, your religion, your belief, your standards, your morals, just to get what you've been chasing. And a lot of people will do it, especially when it's right there in your face. It's like they're dangling the key to the door that will take you to what you've been trying to get to. Most people would do it. Just like, for example, if you had to walk the desert for, I'm talking like hundreds of days and nights, and someone said, "Hey, I got food for you," but it was human bodies that you had to eat. It was flesh of a human person. You might actually do it. You haven't eaten in 100 days. Think about this.
Lives were about to change. And I was right. David blew up after this party, and I had to go into hiding. When I tell you I was on cloud 9 leading up to that party, I mean it. I was so young and naive and delusionally optimistic. I truly believed that I was going to go to this party and leave rich.
And that's how they get you too. You being young, naive, and just delusional, as well as desperate. Just desperate to get it, desperate to make it. Just so eager to make it big and be famous and successful. They're like, "Okay, you want it? Okay, come do some stuff first. And then, yeah, we can talk about you being successful."
Because it literally seemed like that was happening to the creators around me that attended. I was hyped. I've never been a braggy person, but when you're young and excited, you get consumed by good news and want to talk to your friends and peers about it. So everybody that I chatted with who I knew was a content creator and was in the know about this party, I couldn't help but to tell them. And all the feedback was positive and along the lines of, "Let me know how it goes," or "Can you try to get me into the next one?" And even some from bigger creators saying, "I'll see you there," with like a little smirk on their face. Like they were pumped for me. Except for one conversation with a creator that most of you probably know. This creator is an extremely positive guy, and he's one of the most wholesome, bubbly, genuine guys I met out there. And when I told him the good news, he looked at me like I told him a tsunami was headed towards the building. The usual joy that this man brought to every conversation turned into real fear and concern. And he made me leave the lobby and come up to his apartment before explaining anything to me.
I wonder who it was. That person has wisdom and experience in the industry and probably knows people who've gone through it as well. It's crazy because one person out of probably all those people who said they were excited and they wanted to go and to let them know the next one that happens, and people who are already also going saying, "We'll see you there," and all those good raving, you know, reviews that he was getting. All it took is just one person to say, "Yo, don't believe the hype. Trust me, this is not something you want to go to. I promise you that." If someone did that to me, I would take that one person who said these things over all those other people who are raving and happy about this party. Because clearly they are either not right in the head, or they are delusional and sick, and they just truly just don't want to admit to themselves what really goes down behind closed doors. And they're just okay with compromising themselves to be into the in crowd that they don't care what really goes down, and that's bad. Those are people you need to stay away from.
Like he was scared that somebody was gonna overhear our conversation. When we got up to his apartment, he was just pacing, like he had no idea how to start this conversation. But when he finally spoke up, all he said was, "Listen, Doug, I know you're excited, but I'm begging you, please do not go. That man is not who you think he is." He was being so frantic, and I could see tears welling up in this guy's eyes. But I was young, and I thought that I knew everything. I didn't even think the talent agent that sent us the invite was important. I was interested in the connections, and I didn't really care if the talent agent was shady, or if his intention was to sign me to a bad deal. I thought I'd just say no to any bad contract that he tried to send me, but still get to reap all the benefits of the party. So I tried to pry a little bit and ask follow-up
It don't work like that.
questions, but all he gave me was, "I have a friend who went, and he hasn't been the same since he didn't cooperate. I don't know what he saw or what they did to him, but Doug, I do not want to see that happen to you. I don't know what he saw or what they did to him, but Doug, I do not want to see that happen to you." I start reassuring him that they won't make me do anything that I don't want to do. I don't even drink, let alone take it.
Oh, really? Oh, really? They won't? Tell that to everybody else.
Any party favors. So peer pressure isn't much of an issue for me. I make up a lie to get out of the situation because, to be honest, I selfishly wanted to stay excited about this party, and I really didn't want to hear anything negative about it. So I jokingly told him that I'd text him when I got home and that I had to leave to edit some videos tonight. What I was really doing was calling my dad to beg him for $100 to buy a rental suit. Mind you, we were all still poor, and I was living in an apartment that I could barely afford. My dad reluctantly sent me the money, and I immediately texted David to pick me up tomorrow at 5 p.m. so we could both get our suits before the party and grab food before we head to the party at 11. When David picked me up the next day, he was so excited and in such a great mood that I had to hide my concerns from him, at least while we were shopping for the rental suits. I had to manufacture excitement because David always has his camera out, and I wouldn't just be spoiling the mood, I would be ruining the content that he was trying to record. So I went along with it throughout the shopping process. Our plan was to drop his car off at my apartment, walk to the In-N-Out Burger on Sunset Boulevard, eat, and then change into our suits in the bathroom and hop into the Uber, so we didn't smell like burgers. When we finally sat down to eat, I took that opportunity to bring up the warning that my friend gave me the day before in his apartment. I told him everything that he said to me and how scared he looked when he said it, and that I was feeling a little bit worried about going to this party. David cut me off before I even got to finish my sentence and firmly said we're going, and then went on a rant about how my friend is a jealous cloud chaser and that he's just salty that his content isn't good enough and would never be invited to something like this. He said it in a half serious, half joking tone like he always does when he wants to get his way. Then he finished off by guilting me and saying, "Doug, don't ruin this opportunity for us. Please just get through this party for me." I'd never heard anybody talk about my friend that way, but I'd known David for so much longer, so I trusted his judgment. So I nodded my head and called the Uber. We changed in the bathrooms and hopped into the Uber, and David starts recording again, so I have to pretend to be excited again. But once we got off the side streets and started driving up Laurel Canyon, I started getting anxious and internally panicking. If you're not familiar with Laurel Canyon, it's filled with beautiful homes, but at night it's extremely dark and borderline freaky, especially when you consider all the history with the Manson murders in that area. Part of me feels like we're dropping ourselves off into a setup, but once we arrive, all of my worries get washed away. We pull into the driveway and this house is beautiful and extravagant, and everyone waiting in line to walk in is smiling and laughing and friendly. So I get excited again. At the door, they take our phones and have us sign an NDA, which isn't uncommon in house parties like this in LA. And they give us a mask and a name tag with funny aliases. My mask looked like a bear.
Now, to some people, this could just be like, this is just the theme of the party. To people like me, I'd already be super skeptical. The masks, nah. And yeah, I understand that, when usually parties in Hollywood happen, people take phones and sign NDAs because, things at parties, happen and celebrities don't want to be filmed when they're having a good time. And I get that. But then also you got to look at it from the other perspective, that things will probably take place here that they definitely don't want on camera. You feel me?
And David's looked like a bird. My alias was Stardust, which David got a crack out of, and his was Banshee. We enter what you could call like the lobby of the house, and as we're walking in, the apparent host of the party starts giving a speech. This man is very eccentric and outspoken, and he's got the cadence of a late night show host, and I spot the agent that invited us standing right behind him. The speech was basically just encouraging everybody to have fun and explaining the itinerary of the night. Apparently this was a themed room party, and all of the guests were instructed to move to the next room whenever the grandfather clock chimed. He rapped.
Grandfather Mason, grandfather clock. Sketch. Themed party room. Themed room party. However you'd like to say that. That'd be another red flag for me.
Wrapped up his speech with some cheeky joke, and then one line that still irks me to this day. He said, "Have fun now. Our descent starts at midnight." I tried to give David the eyes that I didn't like where this party was going. This type of behavior from people that I saw as adults made me extremely uncomfortable. The moment the host wrapped up his speech, a couple of workers came out of the doorway. They were holding a couple sets of long poles. All of a sudden, music started playing and everybody seemed like they knew what was going on. So I just went along with it. So I guess these parties start off with a big game of limbo. It's funny seeing people dressed so nicely playing a silly child's game, but it's even weirder seeing A-list celebrities being so excited to play. Because everybody had masks on, but when somebody that you grew up watching in movies walks by you with a quarter of their face covered, you still know it's them. I was amazed with how inviting and willing to introduce themselves these people were. I was expecting at least an undertone of uppityness in there, but it seemed like everybody was involving everybody in conversation, and they were frequently introducing themselves to me with their alias, of course. The only thing weird about it was something that I didn't notice until the third person did it. When they shook my hand, they pressed their thumb into the soft part between my thumb and my pointer finger, and I only recognized the pattern because the third guy gave me a big smile and said, "This must be your first time here." In retrospect, this should have alarmed me, but it seemed like they got friendlier when they realized that it was my first time here, so I didn't really think anything of it. But before I got to ask any follow-up questions about this odd handshake, the first grandfather clock chime went off, and everybody excitedly rushed into the second room. When I finally got in there, I was taken aback by the dramatic decor change. Everything in this room was different shades of blue. The music was romantic and all the furniture was cabana beds and love seats. I stood there for a second.
You kind of get the vibe, huh? It starts off by everyone kind of introducing themselves if they don't know each other. And then the next room is like, you know what I mean? Sensualness. Very touchy. You know what I'm saying? It's already getting to that Diddy vibe. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting that diddler vibe. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting the no Diddy vibe. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting the Diddy party vibe.
Trying to realize what was different, but I couldn't put my finger on it until some girl walked by and caressed my shoulder in a really flirty manner. The decor changed, but the way everybody was acting was drastically different. Before, everybody seemed to be outgoing and inviting and friendly, but the second they stepped foot into this room, they became touchy, flirty, and suggestive. I was only 19 at the time, so this type of behavior from people that I saw as adults made me extremely uncomfortable, especially when I saw that the cabana beds had curtains that you could close for privacy. And I realized that these people weren't just being suggestive, they meant it. I tried to give David the eyes that I didn't like where this party was going, but he seemed to be really enjoying the female attention, so I was on my own. I basically stayed in perpetual motion and walked laps until the next chime went off, so I didn't have to sit next to anybody for too long and let them get too comfortable. The clock finally went off and everybody rushed to the next room immediately. The weirdest part was the people that were in the private sections didn't even bother redressing except for the mask. I was in no rush to get to the next room, but I could see into it over the crowd of everybody's head. The walls were bright orange, but the smells that were wafting in from that room were amazing. And when I finally got in there, it was like the Hogwarts feast. It was table after table of the most delicious spreads I've ever seen. There was full tables for seafood, full tables for meats, full tables of sushi, and an entire wall of spirits. I almost started enjoying myself again. Until I saw the way these people were treating this food. They were disrespectfully biting chunks out of delicious prime rib roasts. They were just shoving copious amounts of high-grade sashimi into their mouths and eating caviar like it was cereal. The way that they were just grabbing with their hands and just spitting out things that they didn't like onto the floor ruined my appetite. At this point, I wanted nothing to do with these people. So I went up to the only familiar face in the room. The agent that invited me was the only other person not eating. So I approached him and lifted up my mask, so he'd recognize me considering we'd only met one time. Before I even got out my greeting or got my mask halfway off my face, he abruptly pressed my mask back into place and sharply said, "Mask stay on till the 6th room." He did it in a way that seemed like I was embarrassing him for not knowing the rules. So to ease the tension, I jokingly replied, "So we're only halfway there, huh?" He didn't laugh or make eye contact. He just dismissively replied, "I encourage you to engage in the festivities. A slow drip is better than a flood." He started
Shit, this is weird, bro. Because we know these parties take place, and we've heard many stories about these parties, but he's going in pretty descriptive detail, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Saying exactly what happened, where they were, the rooms they went to, the colors of the rooms, the people involved, certain people wearing certain masks. Yeah, of course he ain't dropped specific names, you know what I mean? But like, you know, we have an idea of who they could possibly be, especially the influencers. You know what I'm saying, that were like coming up and lit and successful at that time. Like,
started to walk towards the door as the clock chimed for the next room, like he knew it was about to go off. I didn't like that interaction at all. He's the one that invited me here, and he seemed to have no interest in talking to me. I just kept going over what he said the entire time while we were in the next room.
And of course he didn't have no interest talking to you, bro. You know what I'm saying? From everything that I'm getting, like this whole vibe is like kind of reminds me of like the Catholics' 7 deadly sins. Like, I'm a Christian, by the way. I'm believing Yahweh Elohim Jehovah Shia. I'm not Catholic, but I'm Christian. But I'm saying this reminds me of it so far based off of everything. You got the gluttony. You got this right here, looks like a casino type vibe. So I'd say greed for this one. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's giving 7 deadly sins. I ain't gonna lie. Let's keep going and see though.
This room was yellow and basically just a casino. I wanted to talk to David privately and let him know that I wanted to leave, but he seemed to just be caught up in the momentum of the party. Plus, there was a roulette table in the room, and David's freakishly good at roulette. So at this point, the winning streak that he's building is the center point of the party. I can't fully focus on what the agent said to me because I have to pretend to be excited about David's winning streak in a fake casino where you're not actually winning money. And like clockwork, the chime goes off. The entire party starts rushing to the next room again, and the vibe changes dramatically. I'm the last person to walk into the bright red room. This room didn't seem to have a specific activity like the others. It was just empty and bright red, and everybody was whispering to each other. For a split second, I thought it might be a big game of telephone or something silly like that, but as I started walking through and brushing shoulders with these people and hearing what they were saying to each other, I started questioning everything. The same people that I saw laughing and celebrating and eating together were whispering the most heinous, offensive comments directly to each other. I mean things that you wouldn't even say behind your friend's back, they were saying it to their face. I'm talking friendship-ending secrets and personal opinions about each other laced with envy and jealousy. I hurried to a quiet corner because I was sick of hearing everybody's dirty laundry after walking around for a minute and a half. And it all clicked. I knew exactly what this party was. I see the host ask the first person in line a question before having them repeat something that he said. When I tell you I am done with this party, I am absolutely not doing that. All the dots start connecting in my head while everybody's being horrible to each other around me. I'm trying to recap the whole night and remember the order of each room to solidify my suspicions, but the chime for the next room goes off. This time, everybody gets eerily quiet and calm, like they got all of their venom out. The host of the party announces for all of the newcomers to come to the front. All of the attendees form a single file line in front of the next room's door. There's about 10 other newcomers in front of me and David, and the agent that invited us is standing to the left of the door, and the host of the party is standing to the right. The host has a pile of books on the table next to him. I see the host ask the first person in line a question, and then grab a book based on his answer. He would present the book to the person and place a diamond-shaped metal symbol on top of it, before having them repeat something that he said. Then he'd take their mask off and let them enter the next room. I couldn't make out exactly what he was doing until there was only 2 people ahead of me in line. The books were Bibles, Qurans, Torahs, and so on. He would ask the person, and which one is yours? Whichever they chose, he'd grab it and place the metal symbol on top of it. He'd have you put your hand on top of the metal symbol, and then repeat, I am my own God, I bow to nobody but myself. When I
rebuke it. I rebuke them. See, they're trying to get you to, bro. They're trying to get you to denounce God. I rebuke them. I rebuke them. I rebuke it. I rebuke it. I rebuke it. I rebuke it. See, people like me who are believers of Yahweh Elohim Jehovah Yeshua and the Bible, I can't do it. I'd be him pretty much. I would have turned around right there. Said nah. Honestly, I would have turned around before I even got into probably the second room. The first room would already been kind of like, this orgy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not comfortable, you know, around all these different people who are doing their thing. I'm a very, you know, compassionate, you know what I'm saying, one-to-one lover type person. So if I'm with my woman, I don't really want to be around a bunch of other people. Hearing them and them watching me or me watching them, I'm just not that kind of person. You know what I'm saying? Personally, that's just me though. I don't know, maybe you might be down for that, but after that, I'd be kind of like, yeah. And at these parties, I'm supposedly also hearing that it's not just the opposite genders with each other, it's the same genders. So you got guy with guy, girl with girl. I'm not with that. You feel me? So Yeah, it's time to scat that tool. You know what I mean?
Tell you I am done with this party. And I whip my head around and I tell David I am absolutely not doing that. David whispered back in a joking tone like he always does. Dude, it's just a party. Who cares? I'll see you in the next room. And he skipped me in line to show me that he'd do it first to make me feel more comfortable. He went through with it and giggled his way into the next room. It was my turn, so I tried to play it cool and whisper to the host, do you mind if I skip this part? It's making me a little bit uncomfortable. I thought he'd subtly break character and reassure me that this is just a party theme and it's all good. Instead, he whispered back to me in a really kind tone. Of course, man, don't worry about it. Just take...
That is not a party theme. They're asking you to denounce your faith and your belief before you walk into the next room. You can only imagine what goes on there. Some horrendous, dirty, dark, twisted, sick, satanic nonsense. They're literally asking you which book belongs to you, which faith do you believe in. They have all the books. They have the Torah, they have the Quran, they have the Holy Bible sitting there, and they say, which one is yours? Which one belongs to you? Which one do you believe in? What's the faith that you go with? And you say Christian, they bring up the Bible. You say any of those other religions, they bring up those books. And they tell you to recite what they're telling you to say. And put some type of metal piece over the Bible or whatever else other book. And denounce God. No. I rebuke it. No. 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 I put my foot down. No. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not doing it. It's not worth it.
Take your mask off and turn around. I was relieved for about a split second before the agent that invited me here grabbed my arm and started guiding me towards the exit. And I see that everybody that was behind me in line staring at me straight-faced. I look back at the host and he's standing up and loudly shouts like he's starting a chant. The price was not paid. And then everybody in line that was staring at me chants in unison like they knew exactly what to do. Remove the profane. And they repeat it over and over until I'm through the exit door. The price was not paid. Remove the profane.
So they literally chant this after you deny. Just, this is sick, bro. And it's so crazy because this is honestly really the tip of the iceberg. You wouldn't even really get to like that certain part of the party or certain part of the room where the weirder stuff happens. Like, this is for them to this right here is them testing you and for you to denounce God and your morals and everything, so you can be open and free to what's to come next. And who can only imagine what happened? I can only imagine, since David got in that room, and we know David became very successful and famous, he definitely participated with whatever they were told to do in that room. For sure. 100%. The price of fame, man. It's not worth it, bro. It's not worth it, guys. You better off working a 9 to 5. I know it doesn't seem like it, but yeah, these people got money, fame, success, but that fame, money, and success came at a dark, sick, twisted price that even after they got it, they regretted it tremendously. Yeah, they're rich. Yeah, they're successful. Yeah, they're, you know what I mean? Like, they're up. They're living the best of their lives. They're, you know, like, but it wasn't worth it. It wasn't. And this crazy thing, because this story that Dougie's telling about, like, David Dobrik and his experience, David Dobrik said the same story about Liza Koshy, a girl he used to date. Liza Koshy got also invited to a party like this by some type of talent agent. They're just coming out of nowhere, these talent agents, and offer you these opportunities and say they can make you successful, they can make you rich, they can make you famous, etc., etc., etc. And people still think this is just like a run-on joke or just simply a conspiracy theory. This is so true. This is real. And this is coming from someone who's actually experienced it. This is not someone who was an outsider and heard something. This is someone who actually experienced it, who actually went through each room and experienced every single bit of it and saw what people were doing, saw what was happening with his own eyes, because I know a lot of people need to see things with their own eyes to believe them and touch them and be things to be tangible for them to believe it. And they'll still question the fact that this is real. And that's the sad part.
Remove the profane. So the agent just walks me to the closest door. He doesn't even walk me to the front of the party and out the front door. He just puts me out into the backyard. It's 4 a.m. My friend's still inside. I don't have my phone. So I decide to walk around the right side of the house because that's where all of the party attendees were kind of headed. Let me see if I could peek in and maybe flag down David to let him know I got kicked out. And there's some windows to the next room. But of course these windows are like big church stained glass windows. And you can't really see through stained glass windows like the colored ones. But if you go really, really close and and you look through the white parts, you could kind of see clearly what is on the inside. And this room is like a bizarre church replica without all of the seating. It's just a big church-like room. And all of the people that were in there had their masks off. And it was...
Think about that's crazy. Like, so in the room before, after everyone was spewing dark hatred, evil, wickedness, and enviness, and just jealousy and just nonsense out of their mouth to each other, then they go and denounce God and their morals, and then walk into a church type of room. You can't tell me this is the symbolicness behind all this is sick and twisted and evil and wicked. And you can only imagine. And they go into some church type of like room. You can only imagine what they did in that. They did some sick stuff. Wicked world we live in, guys, for real. Keep God first. Keep God first. And do not look up don't look up to these celebrities and these famous people, bro. They're bad role models. And don't idolize any of these people. They aren't idols to you guys. They are merely humans who made a wrong choice. And they only obtain their success by participating in things like this. And way worse. Way worse. Because there's way worse things than some of these rooms that they went through. There's way worse. It could be way, way worse. They could be drinking blood. They could be eating babies. They could be doing a lot of crazy stuff. The one thing that really, really just irks me is that the denounce that they had people denounce God and their morals and then walk into some church type room, and you can only imagine what took place in that kind of a room. Oh my goodness. After the masks were taken off, so now you can see everyone's face. Nah.
It's like a big circle. It almost looked like an initiation. And all of these celebrities are standing around in a circle around the other 9 new people. It was 10 excluding me. And there was big TV grade cameras recording. And it looked like the group of celebrities and everybody else that was there was kind of cheering them on. But then there was clearly people in there that were much more serious and kind of threatening. And
Bro. There were TV cameras recording what's going on in that room. You can only imagine the compromising, sick, twisted things they made people do in that room. And then you got people who probably were forcing you to do certain things that you didn't want to do. If you say no, they're like, well, you're already here. You've already seen certain people's faces. And you've already kind of seen what people are doing here. So, yeah, you're going to do it, buddy. It's too late. You should have said no earlier. It's too late, buddy. You should have never came to this party. So now you're going to do it. Or who knows what might happen. You might just end up found unalive somewhere. Who knows?
10 new people were in the middle of this room being forced to do horrible things that I wish I could unsee. And the new people clearly didn't want to do these things. They were being forced to do these things. And they were clearly recording it. And I see my friend being forced to do these horrible things in front of these people and in front of these cameras. I just start panicking. I don't know what to do. So in my head, I'm like, I just need to get out of here. So I start speed walking to the front of the house. And I'm thinking, I need to get out of this gate. There's only one street. We're on Laurel Canyon. I go left and start running towards Studio City, or I go right and start running towards West Hollywood. I'm not about to go knock on other people's doors. I'm just trying to get back to like civilization. And I'm trying to remember if we're closer to Studio City or if we're closer to West Hollywood. I don't even know. As I get to the front of the house, one of the employees is standing there, and he's standing in front of a car, and he has my phone. I'm not sure if he knows that I just saw everything, so I'm kind of standing there deer in headlights, but he just politely goes, here's your phone and here's your ride. Don't worry, the driver will take you home. So I take my phone and I sit in the car and I'm trying to gauge to see if this driver has any malicious intent, but he doesn't seem to. And within the first 3 minutes, I know that they don't think I saw anything. They were just getting my stuff prepared and my car prepared to take me home, because they're under the impression that I didn't see anything too bad, and I got kicked out before any horrible things started happening to people inside of this party. So I get in the car and I'm checking my phone, and my phone was fully charged when I got here, so I don't know what they did, but my phone won't turn on. I have to sit through this 30-minute car ride. One of my best friends is back at this party getting...
And that's another thing, like, yeah, they got your phone. They could have put some type of like listening device or tracker. Like, it's sick, bro. You never know what they could have did, bro, because especially now that you literally said no and you turned down what they asked you to do, now they look at you like a liability, like someone who could be like a whistleblower. Even though you didn't see the full extent of everything, you still saw enough that saying what you saw may come off kind of crazy to people, but for the ones who may believe you, That's a problem for them. They don't want nobody to know what happens behind closed doors at their parties. That's why that everyone has to give their phones away, and they're the only ones who could have any type of video of what actually took place. One, for blackmail purposes, and two, because they're sickos and they probably like to rewatch that stuff and touch themselves. Who knows what they like to do with that tape? Ugh.
Mistreated and recorded doing horrible things, and I can't tell anybody. So I get through this 30-minute horrible, suspense-filled car ride, thinking about all of the people that were so nice to me inside of this party, and the whole intent of this party was to butter me up to get me to do these horrible things. And when I finally get back to my apartment, I run upstairs, I plug my phone into the charger, and the first texts that come through are from my friend Joe. And I completely forgot that my friend Joe was coming to visit me. He was coming on a little mini vacation, and I was going to play tour guide and show him around the city. So now I'm thinking, I only have like 4.5 hours to sleep before I have to go pick up my friend from the airport, and I still don't know if my other friend is okay. So I'm blowing up David's phone because he's still at this party, but I set a timer so I get to the airport to pick up my other friend. So I barely get any sleep. I drive to LAX to go pick up Joe, and I drive him back to my apartment, and when I'm coming back into my apartment, David's in the lobby, and he's talking to some other big creators, like bouncing video ideas. It's like 9:30, 10 a.m. at this point, so we're just kind of having coffee by the cafe and chatting. I tell Joe to go upstairs to my apartment and drop off his luggage, and I go ask David if I could talk to him really quick. I'm clearly very distressed, and he's being very jokey with me, and he doesn't seem like anything bad happened, and he's just kind of making fun of me for getting kicked out of the party. I'm just letting him talk for a little bit, and I finally tell him I was looking in through the next window. I saw what they made him do, and I was just asking him if he's okay. And the second I said that, he immediately switched on me, and he started damn near cussing me out and saying friendship-ending things, and his eyes turned from happy and giddy to filled with almost fear and a little bit of betrayal when he
I mean, tough. He probably really didn't think you knew what he, you know what I'm saying? What he, you know what I'm saying? Like, what he had to do, you know what I'm saying, to get his position. You know what I'm saying? He probably didn't think you seen that. Tough. And he probably was super, super, super cautious that you know, saw him do what he did, and probably would tell everyone. That's probably another reason why he just like turned up on you and got super mad. And of course, he went through some probably traumatic things, something very traumatic and unhuman like. You know what I'm saying? Tough.
Stormed off. He pulled out his phone and he was calling somebody as if he was like reporting something back to them. I immediately started freaking out.
So David probably also went there to feel you out. Pause, no Diddy. Just to see how you know, how you would react, what you would say. And if you didn't say anything about it, he probably would have reported back to them saying, okay, he didn't say anything about it. Doesn't seem like he's going to talk. But since you did say something about it and you also saw what you weren't supposed to see, yeah, that's also an issue for them. They don't like that. And David's snitching. He did that to probably save himself, because they probably literally, they knew that you guys came together and then you left and David stayed and participated. So they probably told David like, yo, go, we want you to go fill out your friend. Pause, no Diddy. And just see where his head's at. See what he's thinking, what he may say to you. After he says that, David storms off and makes a phone call. Who would he call right after that moment? It's a little sketch, don't you think?
Assume that he's telling them that I saw what they did, and now I have my friend upstairs who thinks he's just on vacation when I just saw hyper successful rich people doing unspeakable acts, and they have all of the resources to come after me. They know where I live, and David isn't even on my side, but because the dirt that they have on him now, I have to pretend that everything's okay to Joe because he flew all the way out here for a vacation, and I don't even really know how bad the situation is. I don't even know how to tell him about everything that happened the night before, and I promised Joe that we're gonna go to Runyon Canyon this morning, so he goes and changes into hiking gear, and I drive him over to Runyon Canyon. We do the hike for a few hours, and when we come back and I check my mail, there's another letter from these people, and I take it to the bathroom because I don't even want Joe to see it, and it's a screenshot of the surveillance footage of me looking in through the window, and a little handwritten note, just a reminder of the worst mistake you've ever made. Curiosity killed the cat. And I start freaking out. I know that David just betrayed me and told them that I saw, and now they have proof that I saw. Now I'm just a walking liability to them, and now they're threatening me, and that was the worst mistake that I've ever made, and while insinuating that curiosity killed the cat. I'm the cat, but it's still not enough to tell Joe about what happened. So I just go on with this charade and I'm just playing tourist, bringing my friend around the city. And the first day, nothing happened. And to this day, I firmly believe that the only reason they didn't do anything to me is because Joe was there with me that whole week, and he had just finished the police academy. He was officially a police officer. So I think me being with him is the only thing that kept me safe, because they weren't willing to do anything to a police officer. And I knew for sure they were keeping an eye on me the next day, because Joe asked me the night before if I had half and half for our coffees the next morning, and I didn't have any half and half, and he just jokingly said, who has coffee and doesn't have half and half? It was a conversation in passing, it was a joke, and the next morning we woke up and there was a full half and half in my fridge. And
yeah, they got a wire on you, bro. Your phone tap, your apartment tap, they tap something, boy. Because they listening to every bit of what you guys are talking about in that apartment. And at this point, they're just trolling you. They're playing with your head, your emotions, your feelings. You know what I mean? Like, and I wouldn't even touch the half and half. That's getting tossed, boy. The half and half getting lit up on fire and tossed out the window. Like, I personally wouldn't even touch it with my hands, because you never know, they could have put some type of, you know what I mean, some sick stuff on that. You know what I mean? Like, that could probably cause you to, you know, fall out. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. We gonna play it safe for real, you know what I'm saying? I ain't playing. I'm saying the fact that they literally were able to get half and half after you just had like a simple 3-minute conversation about half and half. Maybe not even 2-3 minutes, maybe like literally less than a minute of a conversation, and that ends up in your fridge and you didn't get it and he didn't get it. Yeah, that's very strange.
And the only reason I noticed that is because Joe said, thanks for running out early and grabbing half and half. You didn't have to do that. I was kidding. I didn't go and grab that half and half. I knew that somebody was not only listening, but entered my apartment that night while we were sleeping. And then they started to do these things that only I would notice. Things that if you told anybody, they would look at you like you were crazy. Each night that we came home and we were just winding down and watching TV, I would go to turn my TV on and the remote control wouldn't work. And I would check the batteries, and the batteries would be switched from positive to negative and negative to positive. Like they came into my house and just flipped my batteries.
Yeah, at this point, they're not even like tearing up your place or anything like that. Like, they're just doing things to specifically trip you up and make you kind of like very paranoid and sketched and scared, and pretty much trying to run you out of the city quietly, strategically, without like, because you know, most times, like in cases like this, they would come and they would tear up your place. They would literally write something on the wall. They would tear your whole apartment up, you know, pretty much just indicate like, yo, we're not playing and we don't care how direct we're being about this. They're trying to be indirect and do this secretly in a way without drawing any attention from any other party, especially knowing that, like he said, his friend just came from the police academy and he's now officially a police officer. Even though he didn't have any jurisdiction in Cali, he still could maybe investigate and then also go work hand in hand with maybe other police officers in that area to maybe take whoever these people are down. But these people are rich individuals. They're elites who got very, 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 very strong ties in the police force. They probably got the commander of the police force in their pocket. They got politicians, you know what I'm saying, judges, Hollywood execs, other rich people, investors, rich corporational, you know, conglomerate individuals. I'm talking like big, well-known people who are very tied in the game and can help them get out of a jam in any second. So even if you did get the cops involved, the cops, one, probably wouldn't believe you. They probably wouldn't take the case serious. And even if they did, those people would get out quick and the charges would be dropped. And then they would really come for you.
I know that my remote control worked the day before, and they just needed me to know that they were in my house and flipped my batteries, just to let me know that they were invading my privacy on a daily basis. And then it started escalating to when I would take Joe to lunch, or we would pop to the grocery store, or we would go to the movies, and we would come back to the car, and my left blinker would be on. They would just open my car and put it down, and every time we would come back to the car, my left turning signal would be on.
Bro, they're just weirdos. Like everything he's just describing them doing is not even something that's like really like trying to spook somebody. It's like they're just trying to trip you up and kind of like, I guess, I won't say that, because they're not really trying. It's not like they're trying to spook you. They're really just trying to like play with your head and like, you know what I'm saying, make you kind of just come off as crazy and seem like you're just out of your mind and tripping and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because all these things that they're doing is just like weird stuff, like flipping the batteries from positive and negative, all these weird stuff. Put half and half in your fridge. Like what? Turning your left signal? Like, yo, it's just those weird, odd things ever. Like, people really, and that's probably why they do these things, because if you were to tell people these things, they'd be looking at you kind of like, huh? It's kind of crazy that you think that some person would really go out their way to do this to you when maybe you just accidentally left your blinker on. No, nigga, I didn't. Like, no, I didn't. Like, why would you think I did? I didn't, buddy. I didn't. And thinking that, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you somehow forgot you went to the store and bought half and half. No, I would remember me going to the store, getting up, going to the store, and buying half and half. I didn't do that. Someone else did. You know what I'm saying? Like, just those little slight things that people just kind of look at you like, maybe you're delusional. Maybe you're forgetting that you did that. You know what I'm saying? Which is kind of psycho. Like, that's like psychotic. That's some psychotic behavior. Really strategic planning on just trying to make you come off crazy and make you feel like you're crazy. That's insane.
Happened like 6 times. How can I tell anybody that somebody broke into my car and turned my left signal down? It's something that only I would notice. And I can't tell Joe because I'm not trying to scare him. And it's also something that I don't even think he would take seriously. He would probably say, you probably hit it down when you were stepping out of the car. And then things started to pick up. They started to do very specific things to me that weren't just by chance. We came home one day and I locked the door behind me like I was doing every time because I was super, super paranoid. My apartment door lock just locked swiftly. My apartment door lock doesn't lock swiftly. I would have to like press into it and jiggle it and force it to lock. And it's been like that since I moved in. And it had this sharp little nub on the front that I would feel with my thumb every single day. And one of the days we came home and it just smoothly locked and the nub wasn't there. So
even that though, even that, people will be like, that could be coincidental. Maybe the apartment decided to fix that. You know what I mean? Like, these are still things that like you may notice is very off and weird. But to other people, if you were to explain these things, they'd just be like, wouldn't it be more likely that the apartment complex probably just realized that maybe other tenants were complaining about this and then they fixed it? You know what I mean? Like, do you see what I'm saying? You see how they just strategically do these evil, weird things? Like, this is just weird. This is just super, super weird, bro. Like they're just really trying to play with your head. You know what I'm saying? And like, honestly, it is kind of scary because they've been to your house several times while you were sleeping, while you weren't there. Planted bugs throughout your whole house, tampered with all types of stuff. They're really just playing with your head, bro. They're playing with your emotions. They're really just trying to trip you up any little second they can. Like, this is sick. They're going out their way to do this every other day. Like, this is wild, bro. Like, go get a life.
They were letting me know that I can't even lock them out. But how do I tell anybody that they're doing this to me? Because they would just say the apartment was probably aware of it and changed it. And I still wasn't able to tell Joe because I would think that he would come to the same conclusion. But then the next day, we go to the car to go to breakfast, and we get into my old car that I've had for 5 or 6 years at the time, and I grab my gear shifter and I go to pull it into reverse, and it smoothly goes from park to reverse. And my gear shifter doesn't smoothly go from park to reverse. You have to wiggle it in a certain way. You have to press the button with your thumb in a certain way to get it into reverse. I only know this because I drove this car every single day for 5 years, and this gear shifter is pretty much broken. It's an old car. And that morning I got into my car and it smoothly went from park to reverse, and the wooden finish on the gear shifter was different. Mine had scratches on it and this one was brand new. So
yeah, they're weirdos. They are weirdos. And like, some people might look at it kind of like it's a blessing. Oh, they fixed it for me. And they got me some half and half in my fridge that I didn't have to buy. But no, that's weird. Super strange. And they've been in your place many times, sending you proof that they've seen you see them do the things that they don't want the world to know about. You're a liability. That's why they playing with you. They're trying to drive you out the city and to never come back, to never speak on the story again.
They were telling me not only are they able to just break into my car and turn the left signal down, they're also willing to manipulate my car. Now I know for sure Joe isn't safe either, and me not telling him these things puts him into danger because I'm driving him around in this car. And if they could change my gear shifter, why wouldn't they be able to cut my brakes? So I basically just break down and I have to tell Joe everything from start to finish about this weird party with this weird agent and the little things that I've been noticing all week, and that this was the last straw. And Joe believed me because we used to drive around in my car together together all of the time, and sometimes he would drive my car. And he made me promise that I did not get that fixed. The gear shifter was still broken yesterday and it's fixed today, and I didn't do that. So that won him over, and he basically said, we need to get out of here. It shook him too. He didn't like the idea of these people in the house. When I told him I didn't get the half and half, when I told him all of these things that were adding up over the last couple days, it freaked him out. He's like, bro, we got to go back to your apartment. We got to get your stuff. We got to get you out of here. Then my entire world is shattering. I moved out here and all of these things were going great for me, and I had a place and I had friends, and I didn't want to leave. Maybe the stuff will die out. I'll be able to work with other people. It's going to be okay. I don't want to just leave my apartment, leave all my stuff. But Joe insisted that we went back to my apartment to grab his stuff and mine and then go stay at a motel before he leaves the next day. And when we got to my apartment, David was in the lobby with other creators by the cafe again, and I went up to him. I didn't really have any idea about what I was going to say to him. All he did was hand me a coffee, ignore everything that I said, and walk away. But then when I looked at the coffee, it had a little napkin wrapped around it. I saw that something was written in Sharpie on the napkin. It said, I'm so sorry. You have to leave tomorrow with him. Otherwise, it's me and you. And I went upstairs and I packed a couple backpacks and I left LA the next morning with my friend, and I never went back. Joe and I rushed out of that city as fast as we could. I packed as much of my stuff as I could, and we just started driving. We were both genuinely scared for our safety at that point. So we decided to skip Joe's scheduled flight and just drive to Las Vegas. And then we were just gonna fly home from there. There was something that just felt comforting about being out of the state. Not to mention, Joe wanted a real briefing about what went down, because I had just basically told him the cliff notes and begged him to believe me so that we could pick up and leave as soon as possible. For the first 2 hours of the drive, we primarily kept our heads on a swivel and just made sure that we didn't take any wrong turns to further extend this trip. There were a few cars that made me feel like we were being followed, but it was just my paranoia enhancing an A-type personality driver into a stalker. Once we were out of California state lines and into Nevada, we could both finally exhale. I felt real relief wash over me for the first time since I got kicked out of that party. We stopped about 15 minutes into Nevada at a pit stop. We used their Wi-Fi to book a hotel for Vegas that night, along with the plane tickets for the next morning. Once we had our escape plan fully booked, Joe just started laughing, and I couldn't help but just start laughing too. We shared a lot of crazy stories growing up, and we always seemed to find ourselves in sticky situations together. So it was just hilarious that his fun trip to visit me turned into this. It felt really good to laugh about it because it made me feel like it was finally over. We got back into the car to continue our drive, and Joe playfully said, so you have 1 hour to explain to me why we're fleeing Los Angeles over some half and half and a gear shifter before we get to Vegas and we make this trip worth it. I realized how bizarre this whole situation must have looked from his...
Yeah, it seems crazy. From the outside perspective, I can see why someone would be like, yo, you okay? You sure this really took place? And really just think you're tripping or you're just paranoid. And that's what I think they wanted him to be like and be perceived as. For if he did ever tell anybody what happened, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then told them the aftermath of it, they would just look at him like everything from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, the front of the story to the end of the story sounds crazy and just berserk. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like, this is how they do it. This is how they play. They really strategically did it like this, too. Just to make him seem crazy if he ever spoke about it. And just to make him seem crazy for his own self, for his own being, in his own mind.
Perspective. He flew in for a fun vacation and arrived to see his friend in a crisis. As I started to explain to him the series of events, things really started to click for me, especially with his input as a police officer. I'm going to recap some of the events that I had already explained, but with the conclusions that we came to together. Clearly, the man that invited us to the party was a predator, and we were just...
Yeah, most likely.
Perfect targets for him. We were young kids with enough of a following on socials to influence all of the other young creators in the area. We had just made...
Not even just the creators, the people who watch. People who watch you guys.
A major change in our life by moving across the country, and we were completely isolated from our families who we could consult with about important decision making. And we were in a bad financial situation because at the time, just having a following on the internet didn't equal revenue. We were perfect targets to be indoctrined into a system where they could have full control over our budding careers. And apparently that's exactly what cult-like communities look for potential members. Not to mention, we were in LA trying to make a career in entertainment, and it seemed like they held the key to our dreams. As I was explaining to Joe the invitation and how it showed up to my house, we came to the conclusion that this guy approaching us at that party was not a coincidence. He had to have been scouting us prior to the time that I thought that we just met by chance. The party itself was a trap as well. When I finally had the chance to process what he said to me about the slow drip is better than a flood, it really started to make sense. Each room was designed to slowly introduce you into giving into temptation and sin. Everybody there being so nice and inviting was clearly on purpose. Seeing all of these people that you've looked up to for years indulging in these these temptations of each room and inviting you to join in with them is perfect peer pressure. You don't want to let your idols down, so you voluntarily
Don't consider them idols, guys. Don't even consider them role models. They're just mere human beings who made the wrong choice. See, they may have became famous and rich, but you see what they might have had to do to get there, right? Okay.
engage in an activity in each room that just gets progressively worse and worse. And of course they start with flirtiness and overeating delicious food. And of course spirits, because those things are so easy to give into. But the temptations of the night keep getting worse as you go on. He wanted me to feel the slow drip, so when it was time to commit the heinous acts of the 6th room, it didn't feel like a flood. It's clear why they kicked me out when they did. I wasn't indulging the way everybody else had. And when it came to the time to defame my religion, it was the last straw. Most people, like myself, would think it was just part of the party theme. But to them, it's the test to see if you're broken down enough to defame your religion for the fun of the party. That's why the 6th room was the flood. It was dramatically worse than the rooms that I had experienced. And the only way somebody would give into the peer pressure to do what they were doing in that room is them being primed to do so with everything that happened before and had just spoken the words that they're not God-fearing. I realized that the people that would go to that party didn't just blow up overnight because of the power of that little cultish group. They scouted young creators like myself and David, who they believed were going to blow up regardless of their help, and get them to commit heinous acts on camera. So when they did eventually blow up, they had the perfect blackmail on them to control them. They would try to get to you early, so before you were making money independently, so that they could control you. Because if you were already established and wealthy, why would you even care about going to a party like this? You just don't care. It's too late for them to infiltrate your life. Do they help you with big collaborations?
Not necessarily, but yeah, it would be way harder. Yeah, it'd be way harder. But even then, though, like, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, like, at the end of the day, bro, like, they still run the industry, so they can definitely shun you from getting opportunities and getting in certain doors that you wouldn't be able to get into unless you participated in these festivities, these parties that a lot of these content creators had to be able to get to a position like Logan Paul.
Yeah, but these collaborations are built off of fear and trauma. That's how they keep their groups so tight. You can't get into this group unless you also do these horrible things. They kicked me out and let me leave because they thought I actually didn't see anything too bad. From the outside perspective, I had just gone to a cool A-list party in a beautiful home filled with beautiful people and amazing food. I couldn't say anything bad about it publicly without sounding bitter that I got kicked out. That's how groups like this need to operate. From the outside looking in, it has to look amazing and wonderful to be a part of. From the inside, they need blackmail that's so bad on you that you can never speak out against it without getting your reputation destroyed. It made sense why they went after me the way they did. They need to do things to me that only I would notice because they couldn't be seen openly harassing me. It would make them look bad. So they had to infiltrate my privacy and scare me.
Unless you were really about to expose them and you knew way too much, they probably would do you slimy, and they wouldn't really care about who may have saw. It's worth getting you out the way to be able to protect their secrets and stuff, even if it costs them, you know, a few people knowing about it. As long as they don't know who did it and where they came from, etc., etc.
Secretly. I still don't know how far they would have gone to get me to leave the city. If they would get violent or try to get me to fall victim to an accident. But they wanted to scare me out of the city. And I thought back to my very kind friend that warned me about this part and how secretive he was being about how much he knew about it. He couldn't just openly say how weird those people were because it would make him a target. He just knew that if he kindly declined their offers and acted like he knew nothing about them, he could go about pursuing his career unbothered. And it really made sense why they would target potential big creators as well. Because if the kid with the most clout is a part of this group and the only way to collaborate with him was to go through the same indoctrination, they would be able to control an entire generation of creators. To be honest, they're very good at what they do. There was a clear system that they followed, and the way that they approached harassing me out of the city, it was done at a professional level. Joe told me that it's called gang stalking, and that most of the time it actually isn't happening. And what I mean by that is most of the time that somebody reports that a crime like this is being committed, it's actually a paranoid schizophrenic having an episode. So they harass you in a way that even the police department would consider it a mental disorder, opposed to gang stalking.
You see? They would just think you're crazy. Then you would think you're crazy. That's how they did it. That's how you know what I'm saying? They were just trying to make him seem like he's psycho and he's crazy. Luckily, his friend believed him.
Everything about the way these people operate is cult-like, and everything that they do is intentional. I was never even a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but my perspective on show business in Hollywood completely changed on the way to Vegas. All the dots connected, and I saw how truly evil some people in that industry actually are. And when I got to Vegas, I started to see how openly they show it. I know I've spent this whole time talking about how secret and exclusive this party was, and how everybody that knows about it has their lips zipped shut, but when we had arrived at our hotel near the strip, I started looking around at the big signs and promotions, and they really don't hide it. There was cultish symbolism in all of the music, live performances, and movie trailers.
Yeah. This is crazy because once your eyes are open to the truth, it's hard for you not to see the symbols and signs and the things that they put in front of our faces, from the movies to the TV shows to the music to just the award shows to just even going out into the real world and you just seeing actual, like, you know, infrastructures and buildings and symbols and signs on buildings and certain names of things and addresses. And I'm telling you, this is so deep. It's so deep, bro. It's not even a joke, bro. This is super real. It's super real. And that's why people need to really wake up, because this is how they confuse, manipulate, and deceive the rest of the world who wants to stay asleep and idolize these celebrities and don't realize these celebrities have to go through the most sickest things to obtain their dream.
What used to look like just cool designs and eccentric artists was blatant symbolism for what was actually going on. I will never look at showbiz the same after that. I'm extremely happy being an independent artist, safe in the middle of the country, away from those cultish hedonists. I never received another letter or heard from David again, but what I can tell you is that everybody that was affiliated with that group became massively famous, but everybody involved fell as hard as they ascended and have had even more massive controversies. And to anybody pursuing a life in the arts or social media, do not fall into this trap. They will promise you everything that you've ever wanted, but they'll take it away whenever they please. And I promise you will hurt the people around you in the process. Welcome to the society.
Crazy story, man. Man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. That was a crazy story he broke down. And I believe it. I believe every bit of it. I know a lot of people might be skeptical, but honestly, we've heard too many parties very similar like this. It's really not that hard to believe. It's really not that hard to believe, honestly. It really isn't. And I'm glad he didn't denounce God. I'm glad he didn't, you know, be a David Dobrik. Because, yeah, he could have been a David Dobrik. He could have been someone who has 20 million subscribers, pulling millions of views, very, very famous and known. But at what cost? Because David Dobrik, even as of right now, is in a, I don't say he's rebelling against the industry, but he's speaking out about certain things. You know, like how Liza Koshy was invited to parties like this, and how, like, just different things, bro. Like, it's sad, bro. It's sad because what people will do to get to where they want to go is sometimes very, very disturbing and sick. And sometimes the things they got to do to get to where they want to go is also very disturbing and sick. And unfortunately, most people take that route because, you know, they've been chasing something for so long. It's like, it's right there. It's in arm's reach. You know, it's in arm's reach. Like, I can't let it slide. I can't let it go. I got to just do what I got to do to get past this point. But then it's like, you got to think, like, you think this might be the only time you probably might have to do some very nasty, sick, satanic, compromising things. This is only first in many. Once they realize you're down and you're down for the count, they're going to expect you to stay down and keep doing and keep going and keep, you know, being part of this nonsense. And then you got to indoctrinate yourself fully into their lifestyle and participate in their rituals and really become like a witch or a warlock, just a demonic person in Hollywood, a soulless shell of a person who's just down for whatever he's told or she's told to do. And then you also push it on other people. This ideology and this way of thinking and behaviors that you are involved in, it's sick, man. But you guys let me know how y'all feeling, what y'all think, man, about this crazy story. And stay tuned for more videos. I definitely should drop one tomorrow, if not Saturday. So I'm back, guys. I'm back. I'll see you next time. It's your boy. I love you. Yahweh Elohim Jehovah loves you. Love yourself. But don't love yourself over God. And I'll see you next time. And love your people, too. Of course, love your family. Love all your people around you, man. Of course, man. You know what I'm saying? Spread the love, man. That's all we can do right now, for real, is just spread the love into this hateful world. But I'll see you guys next time. I'm gone.